My name is Siobhan and I welcome you back to your weekly edition of Women in Sport. Today, Abby, Leonie and I will give you the most important issues regarding gender dynamics in sport. We will highlight the numerous challenges that elite female athletes face and will further analyse such challenges and how these impose further issues on females continuing their career in sport. The living wage is a sum of money that essentially keeps workers out of poverty. However, the level at which workers fall into poverty varies. According to the research and findings of the Fair Work Commission in 2017, an employed single adult currently needs $597 gross per week to live healthily. We can see in the table to the right that in comparison to living wages and minimum wages in Australia, our elite female athletes earn significantly less in a domestic setting than both of these thresholds. Now that we know exactly what a living wage is, let's see in which sports do elite Australian female athletes earn more.
Thanks, Siobhan. Let's start with AFLW. As shown on the screen, in 2020, pay ranged from Tier 1 players receiving just under $30,000 down to Tier 4 players receiving just over $16,000. Next on to basketball. The average salary for WNBL players increased to $33,600 in 2017, and the minimum salary increased to $13,000 in 2019. From this we can see that both AFL and basketball are not sports in which elite female athletes earn more than the living wage. But what about cricket? The minimum for female Australian cricket players is set at just over $72,000, with the average salary being $94,000. This doesn't include match payments, meaning top players could be earning well over $200,000. Moving on to netball, we can see that the potential average salary is just over $75,000, whilst the minimum salary sits at $30,000. In soccer, Tier 1 Matilda players receive at least $83,000, Tier 2 players receive at least $56,000, and Tier 3 players receive at least $40,000. We can see that soccer, netball and cricket are all sports in which elite Australian female athletes can potentially earn more than the living wage. Tennis is another sport in which this is possible, with Australian Ash Barty earning $13.1 million in 2020.
Now, let's move on to our second topic. I will be discussing the key challenges that Australian female athletes face while trying to pursue a career in top-level sport. There has been significant progress in many aspects of women's sport, but despite this, female athletes still face significant challenges not experienced by their male counterpart. Firstly, female athletes receive substantially less media coverage than male athletes, both in interviews and recordings of gameplay. Women aren't portrayed in a manner that recognises their full talent and abilities. In the pie graph, we can see that women's sport only makes up 7% of all sports coverage, whereas male sport makes up an impressive 86%. In the next table, we can see that reports on female sport on average being 30 seconds shorter in duration than reports on male sport. This emphasises the lack of coverage that female athletes receive. Another key challenge is the neglect of women's sport. A lack of media coverage creates a flow-on effect which significantly reduces revenue, investment opportunities, viewership and follower count, trapping women's sport in an endless cycle of neglect. In the pie graph provided by the Australian Sports Commission, we can see that audience demand and media coverage are directly correlated. A lack of engagement by the general public limits screen time. Conversely, a lack of media coverage limits the opportunities for new fans or supporters to engage with female sports.
Another challenge female athletes face is sexism and male hegemony. Female athletes are often subjected to sexism, gender-marked competition, infantilization, and microaggressions in the media. Sherwood makes note that the different treatment of male and female athletes received is not due to audience demand, but rather an effort to maintain male power and privilege in society. As shown on screen, we can see that sexism in sport is still prevalent in today's society, with AFLW player Taylor Harris being trolled on social media. Rather than removing the comments and calling out these people, Channel 7 took down the photo. The trolling of the photo, as well as Channel 7's response, highlights that sexism is still a significant challenge faced by female athletes in Australia. We can see that whilst women's sport in Australia has progressed significantly in recent years, there is still a long way to go. It is important that women's sport is supported so that it can break out of the cycle of neglect it is currently in and be further developed. Then, after this, perhaps all elite Australian female athletes will be able to earn above and beyond the living wage. On behalf of Abby, Leonie and I, we thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Women in Sport.